Rory McIlroy called Patrick Cantlay everything but a rival, a clash so ugly it rewrote the rules of golf's ultimate showdown. The 2023 Ryder Cup 4-balls match, 18th green. Rory silences the crowd for Cantlay out of respect. Then Cantlay's caddy, Joe LaCava, Tiger Woods' former right hand, waves his hat in Rory's line as he lines up a must-make putt. Old-school courtesy meets calculated disruption. What started as sportsmanship explodes into the betrayal that ignited Hatgate. And by the end, Tiger himself is texting to keep the peace. But where does the feud cross from competition into open war? This is where respect gets torched and nothing in pro golf feels safe again. Rory McIlroy grew up believing golf was a game of honor, where respect for the opponent mattered as much as the score. On the 18th green at Marco Simone, that code was put to the test. As the crowd swelled, chanting and waving hats, McIlroy did what champions are supposed to do. He raised a hand, motioned for quiet, and gave Patrick Cantlay the space to line up his putt. No gamesmanship, no distractions, just the expectation that courtesy runs both ways, even when the stakes are sky high. But for Rory, that moment was about more than etiquette. It was a line in the sand between two world views. He's described his relationship with Cantlay as average at best, admitting, "We don't have a ton in common and see the world quite differently." For McIlroy, the Ryder Cup isn't just about points. It's about showing up for your teammates, your fans, and your rivals with the same passion and respect you demand in return. That's why he calmed the crowd for Cantlay, even as the noise threatened to drown out every heartbeat on the green. In McIlroy's mind, the rules aren't written in stone. They're lived, one gesture at a time. Give respect, get respect. That's the ledger he keeps. And on that Saturday in Rome, he expected it to balance. What happened next would show just how fragile that contract could be. Cantlay's putter barely left the ground before the eruption. 43 feet from the cup, he drained the kind of putt that rewrites matches and ignites crowds. The American bench exploded, hats whirling overhead in a sea of mockery. But it wasn't just the fans. Joe LaCava, Cantlay's caddy and Tiger Woods' longtime right hand, charged onto the green, hat in hand, circling into Rory's line of sight. He didn't just wave. He planted himself in the very space McIlroy needed to breathe, swinging his cap like a flag of conquest. McIlroy, still waiting his turn, tried to hold his routine, but LaCava's celebration kept drifting closer, lingering long after the initial cheer had faded. Even as McIlroy asked for space, LaCava stood his ground, eyes locked, cap still aloft. In that instant, the unwritten rules snapped. This wasn't passion, it was provocation. The caddy's gesture wasn't a slip, it was a statement, and it echoed louder than the crowd ever could. For a man whose entire career was built on silent professionalism, LaCava's move felt personal, almost calculated, as if the old Tiger loyalty had been repurposed for a new cause. The green, once a sanctuary, became a stage for open disrespect. The air thickened, not with applause, but with the sharp sting of betrayal. And as McIlroy stepped up to his putt, the balance he'd guarded all day was already gone. The parking lot at Marco Simone wasn't built for drama, but on that night it became the epicenter of golf's rawest meltdown. McIlroy stormed out, eyes wild, words flying. No cameras, no officials, just rage echoing off concrete. Shane Lowry, usually the team's comic relief, became a human barricade, wrapping arms around Rory's chest and dragging him back from the brink. Bones Mackay, caught in the crossfire, tried to play peacemaker, wrong place, wrong shirt. McIlroy's fury found a new target, unleashing a barrage of profanity that bounced off Mackay and landed squarely in front of his wife. That detail stung most in the aftermath. McIlroy would later admit, "I just tripped. Complete rage. I felt bad about it afterwards because Bones' wife was standing beside him and I used a lot of swear words, so not my finest moment. Then Shane bundled me into the car." The scene lasted less than a minute, but felt like a lifetime. Adrenaline, regret, and the kind of public spectacle golf claims to avoid. Family members, meant to be bystanders, became collateral, witnesses to a code broken in real time. The line between justified anger and losing control blurred, leaving only the taste of something irreversible. Tiger Woods doesn't waste words or time. By midnight, McIlroy's phone lit up with 3 texts and 2 missed calls. Woods, the man who defined modern golf's code, wasn't reaching out for gossip. He was reaching in, trying to pull McIlroy back from the edge. The message was clear. This wasn't just a dust-up. Not when Tiger's own caddy, his right hand for a decade, was at the center. For Woods, LaCava had always been the steady shadow, the one who waited out injury years and celebrated every comeback. Now, that same loyalty had spilled into chaos, and Tiger wasn't about to let it stain the sport he'd spent his life protecting. McIlroy's reply was clipped, almost dismissive. "It will be fine, long day, just want to go to bed." But the weight of those missed calls hung in the air. Woods had seen every kind of meltdown, every flavor of betrayal, and he knew when lines had been crossed. His intervention wasn't for show. It was a signal to everyone, players, caddies, captains, that this breach went beyond rivalry. When the godfather of golf steps in, the room goes quiet. The feud had reached the highest court, and nobody could pretend it was business as usual. Patrick Cantlay doesn't flinch in the spotlight or under fire. As headlines circled and social feeds boiled, Cantlay faced the cameras with arms folded and jaw set, dismissing the entire storm as manufactured. "Complete lies," he called the reports, his voice flat, almost bored. To him, the narrative of disrespect and locker room division was just noise, whipped up by media, eager for a villain. He insisted LaCava's celebration was nothing more than joy in the moment, not some calculated swipe at McIlroy or the European team. Every suggestion that he orchestrated a breach of etiquette? Pure fiction, he shot back. For Cantlay, the crowd's taunts, the hat-waving, the viral outrage, they were all symptoms of a game evolving, not evidence of malice. He didn't apologize, didn't explain, didn't bend. In his world, facts were up for grabs and perception was just another hazard. If you wanted contrition, you'd have to look elsewhere. The feud, for him, was a story told by someone else. Hatgate didn't fade with the final putt. Within hours, headlines stamped the feud with a name that stuck: Hatgate, turning a private breach into a public spectacle. The hashtag trended across continents, memes multiplied, and every slow-motion replay poured gasoline on the fire. What started as a clash of etiquette now lived on as shorthand for golf's new fault line: respect versus rivalry, tradition versus tribalism. The next time McIlroy and Cantlay shared a tee box, tension pulsed between them. Every handshake dissected, every glance replayed. Fans didn't let it go either. By the time the Ryder Cup returned to American soil in 2025, the atmosphere had curdled. Chants grew uglier, security thickened, and the line between passion and poison blurred. Rumors swirled of beer cans flying near the ropes, with even family members caught in the crossfire. Hatgate was no longer just a moment. It was the storm cloud shadowing every showdown, the scar tissue that refused to heal. On September 30th, 2023, Joe LaCava's hat wave and Rory McIlroy's sightline, following Patrick Cantlay's 43-foot birdie at the Ryder Cup, marked a turning point in golf's ongoing debate over sportsmanship. Video and eyewitness accounts confirmed that McIlroy had just quieted the crowd for Cantlay, a gesture not returned. The aftermath included a heated parking lot confrontation, witnessed by family, and 3 texts plus 2 calls from Tiger Woods to McIlroy, underscoring the seriousness of the breach. Cantlay's public statement, calling media reports complete lies, left the facts disputed. The feud, dubbed Hatgate, continues to influence every McIlroy-Cantlay pairing. In 2025, crowd hostility at Bethpage, where a beer struck McIlroy's wife, demonstrated that respect issues remain unresolved. While the motives behind LaCava's actions and Cantlay's perspective are still debated, the record shows the incident changed how golf's code is perceived at the highest level. The lines between rivalry and respect, once clear, are now indelibly blurred.